welcome to Crossview Radio, weekly podcast for Wayne County. I'm John Marino, pastor of Crossview Church in Orrville. We exist to glorify God by exalting Christ and magnifying the gospel for the joy of all nations. Well, I am sorry to disappoint all three of our Crossview Radio subscribers that I've been on a little bit of a break recently with all of the coronavirus stuff going on, as well as a family vacation that we went on. Things have been busy, but I am here today and looking forward to the podcast. For the last month, I have taken a break altogether from social media. And I want to do this podcast today on just some things that I've learned and things that I think may be helpful for us as we evaluate just a biblical use of our time. As you would expect, I won't be saying many positive things today about social media, although I will be saying some. And for that reason, I want to start off clarifying to you what I am and what I am not saying. I am not saying that you need to permanently delete your social media accounts. I am not saying that social media is inherently evil or immoral. I am not saying that you are godlier if you spend less time on social media. I am not saying that social media cannot be used for good. What I am saying, on the other hand, is that we need to wisely use our time and resources to the glory of God. And I think that social media has a tendency to become a distraction and work against our goals of Christ-likeness if we let it get out of hand. Think of it like this. I heard someone say recently that you should imagine your life like a backpack, and you should be thoughtful about what you put inside of it. Social media can oftentimes be like putting a brick in your backpack. I'm not saying that it's always a brick. Sometimes there can be valuable contributions. But to push this brick illustration a little further, imagine that we were going on a hike together and you had your backpack full of bricks. I hope that you would be grateful if I pointed out that to you and told you that all of those bricks would slow you down and make the hike that much harder. And so in that context, hopefully you would appreciate that. But when it comes to living life, we have a tendency to get offended if someone tells us that we have a brick in our backpack. You know, this entire mindset of, you can't tell me how to spend my social media time. But I'm not calling us in this podcast today to some sort of legalistic rule that we should spend X number of minutes on social media per day. I don't really have any interest at all in making that determination for you. All I want to do is to encourage us to evaluate what we're carrying around and to realize that some of those things are slowing us down. I want you to run faster, or we could say to hike with more stamina for the sake of Christ and the gospel. So let me start by telling you what I did in my own experience here over the last month. And then we'll move on to some things that I think I missed out on and some things that I think I gained by it. First of all, I have 3 social media accounts. I have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Occasionally we'll post a picture on Instagram. Sometimes I post quotes on Twitter. And then Facebook is kind of a catch-all for me for just sharing articles, pictures, quotes from my reading, those sorts of things. And I went ahead and I still have all the accounts, but I deleted them all from my phone. And I will say, just admit here that every 2 or 3 days, I would go in and check notifications just to see if anyone was trying to contact me for any reason. We do have a private church Facebook group that a lot of times needs will be posted there, and I didn't want to miss any of those. And also just other church-related things. I just want to make sure that no one was through the church or personally trying to reach out to me and was unable to do so. So about every 2 or 3 days, I would do that. I didn't do any kind of scrolling or anything. I just strictly checked notifications and then closed the browser. So I deleted them from my phone, but this was on the browser on my laptop. There are some things when you close off social media. There are some things that you do miss out on, and I do want to share some of those things. this might apply more to a pastor. But social media does help me in a way to understand how our community, how our world, and how our church is processing certain world and national events. For instance, are we responding with anxiety or discontentment or despair or hope? I will admit that I don't really know how anyone is responding to the riots that have been going on because I haven't been on any social media. And really, honestly, especially with our vacation here, I haven't been on any news outlets. So I don't think I've even read an entire article on what's been going on other than just hearing a couple people talking about it. So I think one of the things you do miss out on is you miss out on the ability to see wide range number of responses and how people are processing and understanding these kinds of events. Social media is actually a tool that can be used to exegete our culture. And I miss out on that a little bit over the last month here. I'm not aware of whether certain people may be more in need of encouragement, encouraging text, or maybe even some sort of correction. We shouldn't be doing this or that. I don't know because I've been off of social media. Also, miss out on when friends share insightful and encouraging articles. I do often find those things just very refreshing, something that struck someone in a particular way and encouraged them. I missed out on that. Also miss out on, just the general life updates from friends. Obviously my closest friends will let me know what's going on, but I do miss just having an idea of what some old friends are going through and things that maybe come up, and occasionally I might message one of them and let them know I'm praying for them or something of that nature. I also miss out on being able to use that format for encouragement. I certainly can encourage people other ways, but sharing the occasional quote or article or insight is also always something that I enjoy doing. But I do think that in spite of these losses, I think that there is far more to be gained, especially for even a season of limiting social media exposure. People that know far more than I do tell us that a constant diet of social media actually rewires the brain so that you have a shorter attention span. They say that it prevents you from being able to spend long amounts of time digesting longer writings. They say that you can't follow arguments as easily over many pages. And I will say, just from my own experience, I do think that is a true observation. Social media makes me not want to read an article that will take me more than a minute. You really lose the ability to spend time in reflection and meditation, and you are only content to kind of move on from one post to the next. I don't want to be that way. I want to be able to meditate and to think and to follow an argument and to hear people out and do all the things that require longer attention spans. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of the arguments on social media are really kind of polarized to one end or the other, because we have lost the ability to hear people nuancing their positions. And so when they share their position, they may nuance it in certain ways, and we just kind of pigeonhole them in one particular camp or another. And that's really partly, not all, but partly due to shorter attention spans and not really having the ability or the desire to hear people out and to understand where they're coming from. Generally speaking, being off of social media, there's less of a rush to get through an article or a book or to listen to someone. I think really it gives you a lot of time to think. Another gain for me is the ability to decide what I see and what I don't see. When you log into Facebook or Twitter, they are using their algorithms to tell you and show you what they want you to see. Sometime, I think it was in the last year, there was some frustration that Facebook updated their algorithms so that the Facebook pages would not show up in your news feed unless you specifically chose to see them. And there's been beyond that more discussion. I think even YouTube had there was some frustration of them blocking certain contributors and preventing people from seeing certain content. And I would suggest perhaps one alternative that would give you more control over seeing what you want would be to use something that might be a little bit more older technology, but it's an RSS feed, an aggregator that would give you exactly what you're looking for. It's very effective, and I'll just share briefly, maybe via point of application, kind of the setup that I use. I use an app called Feedly, Feedly, and it's just an RSS reader, and basically I choose the blogs, the news sources that I want to see. And then what I can do is I can go into Feedly, I can browse through the feed for the day, and it's not showing me, based on this, you would like this or whatever. It's just simply showing me the ones that I've chosen. And I can look through those, and when I find things that I would like to read, what I will do is I will send them to another app. So I have two apps in this setup, and the second app is Pocket. And that basically is just an app where you can put articles, like a to-read list of articles, and you can put anything in there. If someone sends you an article, or if you do run across an article on social media, you can go ahead and put that in there, and then go ahead and read that at a later time. By doing this, what I'm suggesting to you is that you are in control of what you read and not Facebook. Social media has a way of putting people in their own echo chambers, and so that they only hear or mostly hear from people that they agree with. But with an RSS feeder, like Feedly, you can include even opposing viewpoints, and you can get a perspective on what people more broadly in our culture are doing and thinking. So that would be another gain, is that you are in control of what you see and don't see. Another gain is following Paul's admonition to avoid irreverent babble. I don't really want to be involved in all the gossip and the ad hominem attacks that abound on social media. Others may have different experience than I do, but I have found almost no success in having profitable conversations online. We have in Orville here a Facebook group that is intended to be for community members to share concerns and needs and just things. And it, I think, had a good intention to starting off, but really it's just kind of degenerated into, the Orville gossip Facebook group. And I almost find nothing of any value in there anymore. There's occasionally something helpful, but it just ends up being just a center for gossip, a center for just fueling discontentment. And those things are just not helpful, and they're not godly, and you end up getting a lot of this irreverent babble that Paul talks about. What I will say is that in the times that I have had someone engage me on social media, is most of the time I will respond just with a couple of responses, and then I will request to talk about it further in person. Conversations are different when you're in a coffee shop across from one another than they are in a Facebook comment section. Almost nothing good happens in Facebook comment sections, at least of any eternal value at all. Another gain here that I think you get from postponing or pausing social media is that you have a lot of time freed up. I've found that even when you are engaging in something profitable, like posting an encouraging quote, that it's easy to get distracted. It's those little time wasters of just, let me just scroll for a couple minutes here, and it really adds up. And so you reclaim a lot of time to do more valuable things. So what should we do next? What will I do next? I think we need to get more control over our habits and not impulsively just reach for the phone or impulsively turn on the Facebook news feed. I will likely resume social media at some point, though I admit I don't really want to resume it now. Being off it for a month has been refreshing, and I don't think I want to go back to that quite yet. But I do believe that good can be done there, and that we should, as Christians, seek to point people to Christ in every available venue, including social media. It can be used for good. It is being used for good, and we should intend to use it for good. I think there would be wisdom in placing limits on your time on social media. Perhaps you might use something like screen time to track your time on certain apps. You might also find a good friend and ask them if you're posting things that are just not helping anyone. And the point here is not to limit social media just for the sake of limiting it, but to engage in things that are more profitable, freeing up time to be hopefully less anxious, to be less discontent, to focus on things that are important, like seeking the Lord and discipling others over a cup of coffee, or sending a text to someone and encouraging them, things that have more of an eternal impact. So maybe it's time to repack your bag and take out all the bricks. Thanks for listening to Crossview Radio. I'm John Marino, pastor of Crossview Church in Orville. We meet Sundays at 10 a.m. at the Orville YMCA. We are currently meeting online due to the coronavirus. However, we will be resuming, Lord willing, in-person services on June 14th. To find out more about our meeting schedule and Crossview Church, visit us online at crossvieworville.com.